Back to Bruce Arians. Let's circle it back here because we got a couple of different topics I want to address. Let's take it all the way back to where we started with Bruce Arians addressing his relationship with the guy who showed up and sat in the front row at the press conference yesterday, Tom Brady.
You mentioned that you talked to Tom. I don't know if you were able to share any details from that conversation with us. There have been reports about, friction with him, but obviously he's here today. Yeah. He's here today to celebrate your career. What can you say about your relationship with him in that conversation?
Get your ass on the golf course, man. I'm getting broke. No, we have a great relationship. I mean, all the players there are a few in here, every one of them's gotten cussed out, all right, including him. So that's just part of me, So that's nothing new, but we have a great relationship. I mean, as soon as he retired, I think we text every week. Hey, where you at? What are you doing? When you going to play golf? When you getting back down this way? And so people got it right. I mean, and it couldn't be further from the truth.
We played that yesterday and it didn't get bleeped. Look, there's Tom Brady at the front row of the press conference. And Peter, Miles Simmons and I talked about this yesterday on PFTPM. This is where you need to inject common sense. And I probably was less tactful about it yesterday than I should have been. Imagine that. But the fact that Tom Brady was there means nothing. It means nothing. Plenty of people attend the funerals of individuals they didn't like. I'm not saying there isn't a personal relationship there that is premised on fondness. It's possible to have a strained professional relationship and a perfectly fine personal relationship. And they like to hang out. They like to golf. They text each other. That's fine. But you know what? We just can't work together anymore. I have no reason to think that Tom Brady has a strained personal relationship with Bill Belichick, but it was obvious it got to the point after 20 years that the professional relationship couldn't continue. So by saying we get along fine and we're going to golf and we text, that buries the deeper question of whether or not Tom Brady, after 20 years with the ultimate grinder who was there every day working as hard as everyone else, swapping that for the guy who bragged about the fact that he wasn't really doing all that much. And if Rich Ornberger's observations from earlier this year have any accuracy at all, and I have a feeling they do, if you're going to barnstorm in late in the week and start messing with the game plan when you haven't been there to construct it, that's going to create resentment. That would be true in any workplace. If the boss has mostly disappeared and shows up from time to time to mess with the work that the people who are busting their asses have done, the human beings involved at some point are going to roll their eyes, and at some point they're going to get upset. That's just basic human nature.
Mike, I think what has to happen here is, if you, depending on where you fall on this and depending on what you believe, I was thinking of this. I was telling somebody yesterday that if you had asked me, the first team I covered for ever was the Cincinnati Bengals, where Boomer Esiason was the quarterback, Sam Wyche was the coach. Boomer, and I was a beat guy. I was around these guys every day. And Boomer Esiason was driven crazy by Sam Wyche. And loved his imagination, but really had some issues with him. And later on, during the strike season of 1987, they were at war. Phil Simms and Bill Parcells. When Phil Simms played for Bill Parcells, I can tell you that he had to grind his teeth a lot to take the stuff from Parcells. There's a famous scene from a Monday night game at Indianapolis in the 80s where Parcells is screaming at Simms on the sidelines. Today, Phil Simms would walk to Florida to be with Parcells if he asked him. And all the time over the years, the friction between Mike Holmgren and Brett Favre, legendary. The stuff between Bill Walsh and the great Joe Montana, huge. There was a huge divide between them, particularly after he traded for Steve Young. I guess what I'm saying is almost every quarterback that I've covered for any long period of time has a problem, and a major problem, with the people or person who coaches them day to day.
I'll take it all the way back to the 70s. the guy who allowed the personal friction to become a permanent, or the professional friction to become permanent personal friction and alienation, Terry Bradshaw with Chuck Noll. They never had a good personal relationship because Terry Bradshaw didn't respond well to the way he was being coached, and it never changed. And he completely detached emotionally from any positive feelings about Chuck Noll. And I guarantee you, if the original TB12 had any of the power and influence that the current TB12 enjoys, the original TB12 at some point would have tried to engineer a coaching change in Pittsburgh, and he would admit it.
Yeah, it's a good point. Now, you know what old man Rooney would have said, and Dan Rooney would have said, get your hiney back in the locker room and shut up. Don't be an idiot. You know,
but
it's the same thing. Can you imagine if Robert Kraft, if Belichick, or if Brady ever went to Kraft after 3 Super Bowls and say, hey, what about this Belichick? What are you going to do? And he would have said, get out of here.
Yeah, but you know what? The difference is in Tampa Bay, after they've seen 20 years of game days with more wide swaths of red empty seats than people, and they had a year of Tom Brady, and they really want another one, that's when your mindset changes a little bit about listening to the guy that maybe through 2 or 3 levels below him is sending messages about what it would take, in theory, hypothetically, for Tom Brady to decide to end his short retirement from the NFL.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.